Yeah. Hey guys, Josh here again, Charlie Cabinet Installation. I got an interesting job we started today. Got a call from a client who tried to do it themselves. However, they realized it was a little more than they can handle. Wanted somebody to actually get it in correctly. So they've called us and we've walked into this here. So walk you around kind of what we walk into on situations like this. This guy's already built the frames. And he's tried to hang his tracks. However, you can see that his tracks are not in the right spot. So we're gonna have to take everything apart, which is fine. We want to do that anyway to make sure the frames are square, the tracks have the correct hardware and whatnot. So in these situations, we always take everything off and we redo it how I would do it from the get-go. We don't just try and go with their measurements or their plans. We're gonna take everything off and we're gonna make sure that we're putting it in how we would from the scratch. So in this scenario, what we're looking at here, this is our wall here. So we've got our base cabinet, which is a 24, which you see here. I've already got that fixed. So I've got my track in, I've got it mounted, and I've got it leveled up. We're actually using this as our point that we're pulling off of. So he wanted this to be right in line with this wall. So we're starting our frame in line with this. Now, what I'm going to show you is how I find out where to put my track to install this 24-inch unit. So we've got this one mounted. Now we're going to pull off from there at 30 and 1/8. I don't go 30, the unit is 30 inches. We want to go 30 and 1/8. We want it a little bit bigger so the unit goes in. We don't have any issues with it rubbing or whatnot. So I always make mine at 30 and 1/8. Alright, so this is what we're going to be installing here. I'm going to show you our front view here. So this is the wall we're looking at. We've got our 24-inch frame already installed here. We're going to pull off of that point. That's going to be our fixed point, and we're going to pull off to figure out where we're going to mount this track for this 24-inch unit. So that's what I'm going to show you how I do. What I need to do is make sure that these cabinets are perfectly in the same line, that this track is exactly in the same level as this track here. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to take my level, I'm going to set it on the top frame on this metal piece here. Not the frame, on the metal piece. That's going to give me my accurate reading there. I'm going to get my bubble right here. It just needs to be in the middle. See how it's down? We're going to bring it till it's level. So that's our level point. I'm going to make my mark here on the bottom. That represents the top of my cabinet. So now I have my mark. And what we're going to do now, we have a 30-inch stove. Stoves are always a 30-inch opening. I leave 30 and 1/8. I leave 1/8 of an inch just so it's not too tight. You just have a little bit of space on each end. So I always go 30 and 1/8, not 30. Make it a little bit bigger for a stove, just so you never have that issue of it not fitting in the cubby. So what I do, I need a 30-inch base. I'm gonna butt my tape measure up right here. I'm gonna come over 30 inches. I'm gonna make my mark. There's 30, and here's 30 and 1/8. So I make my mark at 30 and 1/8. And now I know that my stove is gonna fit in this opening as long as I put my track anywhere on this side here. So now determining how to cut the size of this track here. So we have a 24-inch unit. I know that I don't want my track to overhang, so it has to be 24 or less. I make all my tracks a 1/4 inch less than what the unit is. That allows me to have a little bit of adjustment, but it makes sure that it doesn't affect me in other layouts if it's too large. So if it's a 24-inch unit, I'm gonna go ahead and cut my track at 23 3/4. So here's my track. So I grab my track here. I'm gonna pull off of the side here. It's a 24-inch unit. I want it to be smaller. We're gonna go 23 3/4. So I just make me a little mark, 23 3/4. I'm ready to cut that. All right. Let's see, I can put it on this side for you. So So I've got a bandsaw. You can use a grinder to cut your track. You can use a jigsaw with a metal blade. That's the most common. If you don't have these tools, you want to get a jigsaw, but you want to get a metal blade on it, and that'll cut through your track also. So now we've got our track, we know it's the right size, and now we know our marks here. So we just measured over with our level, and we got this line right here. So from this line, I know that's the top of that cabinet pulling across. From the top of my cabinet to the bottom of my track is 2.5 inches down. So what I do is I'll make my mark here, and I'll go 2.5 inches down from that mark that I just made. So 2.5, make my mark right at 2.5 here. So I know now that this is the bottom of my track right here. So my track needs to be above it, and I also know that I want my track to be at this mark here, so it doesn't interfere with my stove, but it keeps me behind my unit. So now I have my 2 marks. What I do is I take my level, I'll hit this mark here so I know where the bottom of my track is. So bubble's reading right. I'm on my mark here. I'm gonna make a straight line going across here. So that's the bottom of my track, and this is where the side of my track is gonna go. So I'll take my track. I'm gonna set the bottom of it right on this line that I just made. So that's on the bottom. And I'm at 30 1/8. So I'm up my mark here. So 1 over here. I'm gonna mark a circle here. I'm gonna mark a circle here. And then I know my stud is here, but we're gonna find the studs also on this. So now I know where those marks are. So I'll take my stud finder. I have a stud right here. And there's no more studs on this wall, so I'm gonna have to use a butterfly anchor over here because there are no studs. So this is what I'm gonna use to attach it on this point over here because there are no studs. So I have a stud here. I'm gonna pull it over. I have a stud on the corner, but my mark is right here. So that's telling me that there's not gonna be a stud here, but I have one here. So I'm gonna have to use a butterfly anchor on this one also. So I'm only gonna be able to hit one stud, and then we'll have to use anchors on the rest of it. So we've got it all marked up now. We're ready to put our track onto the wall here. So what we're looking at, we found our stud. We know there's no stud here. We know there's no stud here. So we're gonna take a 1/2 inch bit. This is a 1/2 inch. This is a 3/8 butterfly anchor. So we need a 1/2 inch bit in order for this butterfly anchor to go into the wall here. So now we have our marks. I'm gonna put my 1/2 inch bit right on there. I'm gonna shoot that in, and I'm gonna do the same thing over here. So now I'm just switching this over to a pilot bit for my anchored stud. Now, the holes we just made, we're gonna take our butterfly here. This is a butterfly anchor. This is what they look like when you get them out of the packet. So you'll take your anchor. These are butterfly anchors. You have 2 different ways. You don't want to go this way, you put them on this way. This allows it to go behind the sheetrock and allows the sheetrock to catch it like this. If you put it on backwards, it'll just pull out and the sheetrock, it won't work. So the correct way to put a butterfly anchor on is when it expands, it opens into the wall like this, so it pulls against the sheetrock. So now we have our butterfly anchors ready. I'm gonna squeeze it, I'm gonna put it into my hole. I'm gonna push it in, and I'm gonna let it open up. I'm gonna jiggle it around until I know that it is behind the wall. So now that anchor is ready. I'm gonna do the same thing with my next one. Put it in, close it, put it behind my wall. You'll hear it click, it'll open, now I know those are good. I'm ready for me to attach it. All right, so with your track, comes with your little clips. We'll take your clips. Put your clips on. I'll go ahead and I'll pull this out because it's a butterfly. So now I'm pulling against it, so that's going to allow me to tighten it now. So, and I'm going to just move it over to my lines that I want. We're going to get this side just kind of tight. Now we're going to push this one on. Just so it's kind of tight here. Now we want to go to our line. So now we've got it kind of mocked up here. Now, so what we're looking for again, this is the line we just made. We want to make sure it's perfectly on that line, and we want to make sure that it's behind that 38 1/8, so that opening will allow our stove to go in correctly. So we're on the right mark there. I'm on my line here, and I'm on my line here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tighten that, and then I'm going to just double check this with my level for a final level to make sure it's all perfect. So as you can see, I went on my line, this one lucked out. I'm good. This side could come up just a hair. Let's see, let me set it on top here. Actually, this side will come down just a hair. And you just want to tap it until that thing reads perfect between the lines, and that'll give you a level cabinet. So now I'm going to just tighten this. I'm going to tighten this. Make sure my cabinet's still level. Boom. All right, so I got those two in. We like that that's tight. We like that one's tight. Now I'm going to add my stud anchor. So I'm using a number 10 screw here. So what I'm doing is I'm gonna take my bracket, and now I know where my stud is. We just hit that with the stud finder. I'm gonna put my bracket on, and I'm gonna put my bracket level up to the top here. Now I'm just gonna shoot. I'm gonna pilot this so I don't crack the wood. You always have to pilot if you're using a thicker screw, or else it won't anchor correctly. So use your pilot. Now I've got that piloted. I'll take this with my bracket, put that in. Now I'm ready just to shoot that on. Now I've got one anchor. These are anchored. This thing is good to go. So, get to this point. We've got our frame built. We've got our legs on it. We're ready to install it on the track. The back legs, I always just run up so it hooks on the track, and then I come back and I'll level them down to the ground. So, you saw now that's why I put my feet up on the back, because if my feet were down, it wouldn't allow me to sit on my track correctly. So I put my feet up at first, I allow it to sit on the track completely, and then I'll drop my back feet. So now we've got it sitting here. We want to go ahead and double check our measurement. We've got 30 1/8. So this is what we want, 30 1/8 right here. So now we've got that. We're going to go ahead and lock the cabinet to the track. In your kit that comes with the frame, you're going to have these little gray pieces. This is what we attach to lock it to the track. So you can see it's like a little half moon there. You can see that half moon there. We're going to put that in just on the bottom until it goes in. You'll take a flathead and then you'll just turn it. And that's going to lock it onto the track. So same thing. You can see we got that little half moon. We don't want the half moon up or else it's not going to go in. The half moon has to be on the bottom so it goes into that half moon there. So it's just putting that in. Taking your flathead and turning it. So now I'm locked to my track and I've checked my measurement. I know I'm at 30 1/8. So I'm good to start leveling up my cabinet now. So I've got the back legs up. I'm gonna go ahead and just set this from the back to the front. Now you can see how my front is high. So I'm gonna adjust my front legs down. My front legs I'm gonna bring up, and that's gonna bring this front down. So I'm bringing these legs up, I'm bringing these legs up, and that's bringing the front down. So now you can look at my level, and you can see that just by turning the legs is gonna get me to my level point. So all I'm doing is little turns to make sure that that is perfect. So now I like that one. So that one's level. I'm gonna double check this side. I'm gonna level this side also. And now in theory, we should be level going across. We're just a little off. So just one little twist like that. And now we're level going across. And we're level going back on both sides here. So that's what we're looking for. We want the front, we want the sides level. Both sides in the front. Double check this one. Looks right. And there you go. Now we have our 24-inch unit is leveled up. It's in the exact same plane as this unit, and we have 30 1/8 between for our stove to go in. So we've got these two frames installed correctly now.